Supreme Court there unanimously agreed that the attempt by Republicans to create 4 unelected special circuit court judges in Hinds County, where Jackson, Mississippi is unconstitutional. The 8 justices sided with the plaintiffs that HB 1020 Section 1 said that Section 1's creation of 4 newly appointed temporary special circuit judges in the 7th Circuit Court District for a specified almost 4-year term violates our Constitution's requirement that circuit judges be elected for a 4-year term. Blake Feldman is the Impact Policy Council from the Mississippi Center for Justice. Blake, glad to have you here. So here's the thing that people have to understand: what's really going on. We're seeing this in other states as well. Republicans in Mississippi are using the supermajority to impose their will on Jackson, Mississippi. They hate the fact that it's Democrat. They hate the fact that it's 70% black. But what's hilarious is, without Jackson, a broke Mississippi is broker.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been complete Jackson was targeted in a way that we have not seen yet this past legislative session. This is a big win. The coalition that organized quickly when this bill and others were introduced this session were vindicated yesterday, and this is great, but no one is naive enough to believe that the legislature is done targeting Jackson, that it all of a sudden now will believe that black people should be entrusted with the same rights to vote, the same rights to self-determination. Jackson will continue to be targeted, but it's been really deprived and starved of resources for a few decades now by a majority white legislature and all white statewide elected officials, which is really unfortunate. It cripples the state. It hurts everyone. It hurts white and black Mississippians. But this mentality of black people should not be able to govern themselves in the same way that every other municipality in the state is allowed, in the same way that residents of every other county in the state are allowed. Hinds County and Jackson were treated in a very gross, unfair, and discriminatory way this past session. And
we're not just talking about this bill. There's so many others. These are the same people who literally refused to. I mean, the governor, when he said he was treasurer, he was proud of not funding Jackson, Mississippi. And then they told Chokwe Lumumba, the mayor, okay, you actually think, because he told me the story, he's like, you actually think you're going to go to D.C. and get Biden to give you some money for the water system? Lumumba came here, got $600 million. And then when he got back, they were like, yeah, we're going to run the water system now.
Exactly. We will not give you resources, then we will blame failures on you. If you are able to secure those resources, we cannot trust you to use those correctly, so we will use them, even though the state has no track record of doing things correctly. It's a very entrenched and sustained mentality of white supremacy that is just devastating to the people in the community, which is why this bill of lies that the legislature tried to sell this past session with, this is to help the people of Jackson. The people of Jackson want solutions to problems that they're facing, but they do not want the state to dictate to them these non-solutions that were provided with these bills. This won't address anything. All that it does is take a little bit more power from black people and give it to the state and the statewide elected officials who happen to all be white.
And what we're seeing here is that this is nothing new because it's happening in other states. I mean, in Texas, my home state, the Republicans passed a bill that says the Secretary of State, if certain things happen, has the power to overturn the election only in Harris County. 254 counties in Texas, but they passed a bill against one county in Texas. And they've been targeting Harris County because it's a blue county. And so this is what Republicans are doing. They're wielding their power, and they are all the so-called local government, no big no big government, local control. It's amazing they only believe that when they're in power.
Exactly. And I think that another thing that's very important, I'm glad you brought up Texas. Mississippi and Texas share the same Court of Appeals in the federal judiciary system. I think that these state legislatures that are very conservative believe the federal courts aren't going to stop us. The state courts aren't going to stop us. We can do whatever we want. And we're seeing this was a radical piece of legislation, House Bill 1020. Senate Bill 2343, expanding Capitol Police in those ways. These were very radical pieces of legislation. I think that it really speaks to the people of Jackson that organized and said we have to fight this with every arrow that we have in our quiver. One of those arrows is litigation. And the people of Jackson said we're not just going to roll over when we're targeted, especially when fundamental principles of our democracy are attacked. That is a paraphrase of what one of the plaintiffs said in our case, in her case. And people didn't think that we would get a decision like this, that the Mississippi Supreme Court would side with them, that when the Mississippi Constitution says that circuit judges are elected, shall be elected by the people in this state, it means what it says. But that's what they did. In an 8-0 unanimous decision, the Mississippi Supreme Court said, yes, the Constitution means what it says. These 4 appointments that are being forced onto the people of Hinds County, which would deprive them of the right to vote and choose their elected leaders of their courts, is unconstitutional. And it was struck down, and it really speaks to, because we're not done, and the community knows that we're not done. We will use every avenue available, and the people of Jackson will use every avenue available to demand equity and equal treatment from this state legislature.
Roland, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Matt, I want to go to you first. Look, I keep trying to explain to people, again, to all the people out there who sit on their asses and don't vote, this is what happens when you let people have total control, when you don't exercise your power. There are thousands of black people in Mississippi who are eligible to vote who do not vote.
That's absolutely right. And it's also what happens when you don't hold politicians to account for what they say, even if they act hypocritically. I think you made a really astute point earlier. I mean, they crow, Republicans primarily, crow about local government and federalism and all of that stuff. And then you pass a bill where you basically want to divest the people of Jackson of that. That's an indefensible position. And that's something against what you said for all these years. And on top of that, to your point, I mean, not only is it about local control, but when you have 70% of the population is black and you want to create basically a conservatorship where white people get to decide what happens in those black people's lives and they have no meaningful say, I mean, that's abhorrent in 2023. And it's one of those things that only happens after you have seen fomenting of this kind of rhetoric, right? The kind of rhetoric, just like I actually spoke to, that black people can't take care of themselves and that we've got to take care of themselves. And, you know, they don't have the means of intelligently, pursuant to their Mississippi Constitution, electing the people who represent them. So this is why elections matter. And this is why holding politicians to account for what they say matters. Because if you're talking about local government and federalism and all these things, then you cannot pass bills that directly controvert that. And that's precisely what they intended to do here. But I am still concerned, Roland. I didn't hear if they're going to still create the district, how is that district or that circuit actually populated? I know that these judges have to be elected, but are those circuits going to be?
They struck it down, but they did approve one of them. So again, it's sort of a weird ruling there. But basically, they got to go back to the drawing board for these 4 circuit judges, because they're supposed to be like 3. It was supposed to be 4 terms, and so that's what's up with that one. Michael, I want to go to you on this because this is the thing. Again, we're seeing this in Tennessee. We're seeing it in Texas. In Tennessee, they literally split Nashville into 4 different congressional districts. They try to take away the airport authority from Nashville. Republicans in Georgia have been trying to do the exact same thing. Our people need to understand, again, if we do not vote, what is happening? These Republicans are trying. So we may say, oh, hey, we got Democratic mayor. These Republicans are saying, no, we're going to control your city from the state capitol.
Absolutely, and especially in the former Confederate states like Mississippi is, like Texas is, like Tennessee is. And, your guest mentioned the state constitution of Mississippi. That's the Mississippi State Constitution of 1890. And you don't have to read the whole thing, but if you understand it, they impose poll taxes, literacy tests, but also a felony disenfranchisement law. So that if you committed a felony or certain types of felony, you lost your right to vote for life. And all this was targeting African Americans. The presiding judge over the state convention, his name was Solomon Saladin Calhoun. He said, we came here to exclude the Negro. OK, and then when we look at Hinds County is 70%, more than 70% African American. So this is a continuation. OK, this is a continuation of what happened after Reconstruction ends and these voter suppression tactics that they keep playing. This is why we have to understand politics as well as history and vote not just for people who can do things for us, but also vote to stop people who are trying to do things to us. OK, so this is extremely important.
Kelly.
No, I agree with my panelists here. My main concern with this ruling, even though it was overturned, is that the court still emphasized that there's no constitutional impediment to what they did, meaning that they can do it again given they have exigent circumstances. And knowing how Mississippi's, they can absolutely more or less force an exigent circumstance upon Jackson, upon this county, to do what they just did. And that's still a problem. Just because it was overturned because of, some type of loophole doesn't mean it can't happen again by another loophole. So we still need to be aware. We still need to be proactive in this. And for Mississippians, vote. Make sure that you're holding your people accountable so that stuff like this doesn't happen again.
All right. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Register for the online classes that I teach. We teach them on Saturdays and Sundays. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And it is a 12-week online history class that I teach. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. You can register for that now at a discount. That's on sale $60, regularly $130. Even after the course is over with, you can still go back and watch it as much as you want to. It doesn't expire. Then Sundays, usually 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. Okay, you can support us through PayPal, Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Okay, and this is all at our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. If you want me to speak for your group or organization, you can contact me right through the website. Click right here at the top of the page, contact the African History Network. You can email me right there, or email me at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Remember, right now is correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.